Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to KT Confidential, the real estate podcast. Today, we are discussing to pay off your mortgage or not to pay off your mortgage. What's the right decision? Enjoy. Rolling.
So today, all of you that think we're hostile in our banter between each other, we're going to ramp it up a little bit.
Why do we have to be hostile? We're having a debate, a cordial discussion.
Yeah, but our debates people can see because they don't know this relationship, right? We've got this brotherly love that we can tell each other to piss off and get hostile with each other, but then the next minute we're hugging and
I never hug you.
That's true. I don't want to hug you.
No.
Should you? Or should you not pay off your mortgage? Should that be a goal? Why are we bringing this up, Adrian?
So you wanted my permission to talk about it. So I paid off my mortgage.
Yay. Congratulations.
Are you congratulating me or are you not congratulating me?
That is a huge congratulations. That is a huge accomplishment. I just think you're a sucker.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not at all. And I can support that with
not too many
evidence.
People at the age of 42. You just turned 42. How's that feel?
Yeah, feels good. I feel 30.
Yeah.
Minus the arthritis.
Right.
Plus the arthritis, sorry.
Where do you have arthritis?
In both elbows. My right is more prominent. My left, I don't really notice it. Rarely.
Right.
But apparently it's there.
I see. That's it? Just the elbows?
Yeah.
Oh, you're fine then.
Yeah. And I can improve
Here's the thing. If you've lived in this country long enough, you have arthritis. Robbie, if you don't have it yet, I'm sure it's not a thing in the Philippines.
I don't think it's a weather-related thing.
100% it is.
No.
100%.
So my doctor told me it had to do with, over time, or even when you're younger, you could have had a big bump on your elbow, which caused some bone fragments, which is moving around in there and hurts your ligaments or what these are words I'm assuming were said, but something along those lines.
You weren't listening?
No, I was. But apparently you can improve it and your body can, I'm not going to say digest those bone fragments because that's probably not the right term, but it can absorb them with under proper conditions. And I'll stop talking because I'm sure there's someone with a PhD that's going to tell me I'm full of shit.
I can tell you, my grandmother was told, now she had rheumatoid arthritis, which can be deadly if it gets to a certain point, whatever. But she had a lot of difficulties moving and a lot of pain. And when we moved to Las Vegas, not long after did she already start becoming more mobile and feeling way better. The dry heat just sucked out all that arthritis from her body. So explain that.
I don't know. Keep talking. I need to fill my water.
Seriously?
I'll be quick.
All right. Well, I'm going to pre-talk about the fact that Adrian paid off his mortgage. I told him not to do that. I think it was a bad move. I'll talk more about why I think it was a bad move.
And I will.
But I want him to substantiate why he made this decision. Now, we do have to. Can you stop making so many noises on the set?
These microphones are very good. Could you hear the noise?
We purchased our homes. We are next door neighbors. It was a Madame first phase in Milton. Now he's fucking burping. Anything else you want to make a noise about?
I didn't burp. I just took a big breath. Jeez, you are so critical.
I told you this is a hostile.
You're just trying to get amped. Just calm down.
That's what makes for people.
What's in your water bottle?
There should be something good.
Oh, we went out for dinner last night and they brought us a bottle of sparkling water and it looked like a bottle of vodka. We were really excited.
So
we joked. We said it's kind of like when you go to the ast pump and they're out of regular gas, so you get premium gas.
Why don't you tell people why you paid off your mortgage? And I was going to say, we're next door neighbors. We bought these homes. Madame first phase. 40.
Did you just give me that look? Was me.
Yeah, you can never stop. Like, just sit still.
Okay. First phase, Hawthorne Village on the Park is what they coined the neighborhood. Bought in 2010, moved in 2011.
Yeah, so your home is 2,050 square feet by the builder's floor plan.
Yeah.
3-bedroom plus loft on a 36-foot wide lot by almost 90 foot deep. So you've since finished the basement, made it all nice, did a bunch of handiwork and renovations, and it's a beautiful home.
Yeah.
Been there for
13 years.
13 years.
When did we move in? May?
May of 2011.
Very soon.
So 13 years. You had 2 children in the home, raising the children in the home. They go to the local public school, all that stuff. So it's a great place, great community, great location, close to work, blah, 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 blah. You may move in the future to you want a country property with some space and a future pool and whatever. Mm-hmm. But for now, you're staying put, no immediate plans to move.
Right.
You bought it 11, 12 years ago. I was unpacking things at the new office this morning. You bought it 11, 12 years. I guess it would have been, 14 years ago.
Yeah.
Bought it 14 years ago. If I remember correctly, the price of your home was $379,990.
How do you remember that?
Right? Am I right?
Yeah, plus upgrades.
Plus upgrades.
It was like $405.
$405,000.
Yeah.
Which buys you right now a condo 4 hours away.
Seriously.
So, right investment at the right time. So for those of you thinking, how can Adrian, also known as Daddy Moneybucks, pay off
How do you know what Alicia calls me?
Pays off his mortgage at such a young age? It's because, well, your first home, you did okay. You didn't do great, but you bought your first home.
I bought it in 2000. I moved in 2008.
2008. You moved in 2008.
Yes. I don't remember the month.
So you were 26 years old.
That was a bad year. I bought it in 2000. I must have bought it in 2007. And then 2008 rolled around. We got possession of it. How old was I? 28.
You're asking me?
Yeah. And
no, you would have been 26.
26. And 2008 was a bad year for the market.
It was.
Everywhere. In fact, I remember when I moved in, and these are discussions we've had in previous podcasts not long ago. When I moved in, within days, I started getting mail. And there were flyers in the mail where the builder was selling my house for less than I paid.
Right.
And that doesn't happen often. But we've, again, witnessed that not long ago. Yeah.
But you ended up selling it 3 years after that. You made some money. You took that money and used that as a down payment for your new home. So it was a stepping stone. You wouldn't have been able to build up that savings from that equity if you didn't have that equity from that home.
Yeah. So the point there is just get into the market.
Get into the market.
I wrote a blog about that recently. Actually, it wasn't a blog, sorry. It was, I wrote, I contributed to another company's blog recently. And the premise of my discussion was obstacles for first-time home buyers. And I rambled on about a few, but in the end, I just summarized it by saying, look at this as a stepping stone. So don't overthink it. Just get into the market. And most first-time buyers are moving in a few years.
Right.
From our experience, like 2 to 5 years.
Yep.
You're going to be moving. So don't overthink your first house. It'll enable you to find that forever home.
Or not even a forever home, but the next step.
Right. Yeah. Something that you're more excited
about. I wasn't
about.
planning on living in my current home for 13 years.
Nor was I.
So sometimes
But that was our second home.
But yes, the first home, I knew it was a 3 to 5 year plan. I bought it for $199.9, sold it for $300, took that $100,000. That was the deposit to be able to buy the home that we currently live in. So anyways, so your mortgage, needless to say, 13 years later, was not a huge amount, and you decided to pay it off. So talk about that. Tell us why you did that. Tell everybody why you think it's a good idea.
I did it because it's
and
the
I'll
right
tell
decision.
everybody why I think it's a stupid idea.
I did it because it's the right idea.
To you.
Right decision. To everybody. And
To you.
No, to everybody. If you
Okay.
have the means to do it.
Convince me.
So first of all, I ran the numbers multiple ways.
Tell everybody
various
the numbers.
scenarios. So, openly I had a 200,000 remaining. So I did the math. I said, okay.
Which is a down payment for most people right now.
Yeah.
Buy $1 million home, you need $200,000 just as a down payment.
Right. So I looked and I said, okay, well, the two scenarios are I take the 200 and pay off the mortgage, and that frees up cash flow. So I said, okay, if I pay off my mortgage and let's say I contribute $4,000 a month into RSPs, investments, whatever.
Is that what the $200,000 monthly mortgage payment was?
No, it was closer. I was paying $2,000 a month.
Okay, well then use relative numbers.
Listen, Jesus. So scenario one, I pay off the 200 and I contribute $4,000 a month. Alternatively,
But you're upping your monthly by an extra $2,000 a month in this scenario.
Would you let me finish? So option one, there's two options that made sense to me. Was one, you pay off the mortgage, so you take that 200, so now you're starting with zero investment, but zero mortgage, but it frees up cash flow. So I can invest $4,000 a month, okay? And I did that over 17 years because that's what my next, and the years doesn't really matter, but 17 years was remaining on my mortgage if I just paid the minimum. And option two was I keep the mortgage, I'll pay $2,000 a month to the mortgage, but I'll take the other two that I had remaining and invest that. So I'm starting with 200 and I'm investing $2,000 a month, or I'm starting with zero and I'm investing $4,000 a month.
But again, I'll go back. The number I'm interested in is the $2,000, not an extra $2,000. Not everybody has an extra $2,000 that they can tack on. So let's just compare apple to apple. Is if your mortgage is 200 and your payment is $2,000. If you pay off that 200, now you only have still $2,000 to invest.
No, you're asking me why I did it, so I'm telling you.
Okay.
So for my scenario is I have $4,000 in cash flow. I decided that's what I want to discipline myself to do.
Right.
Okay. So option one was I start with zero because I paid off my mortgage and I paid $4,000 a month into an investment.
I got it.
Okay. And the difference after 17 years was about $200,000 more in the scenario where I pay off my mortgage. Now, the other advantage there is I can now refinance my house whenever I want and get a mortgage at whatever rates are the going rates. And if I want to invest into something, and it becomes completely tax deductible.
So you're not taking into account the pain in the ass it is now to mortgage a home.
That's not hard.
It's not.
And I have a home equity line of credit.
It's not hard. Oh, so you kept your home line equity.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, so that changes maybe a little bit of my answer.
Because you're saying potential missed opportunity by not having the funds available. Is that why?
Here's my thing. Your home is your biggest asset. Your home is likely your only asset that you can borrow on. I can't take my car, go to a bank and say, hey,
Yeah, for sure.
Well, maybe you can, but and you won't get the same kind of terms.
Depends on who you're going to.
Yeah, not the same terms as you would in a mortgage. So in my scenario, if you have the ability to pay off your mortgage, you should just be buying more real estate.
Perhaps. I mean, for me, we invest a lot into our business. We're very heavily invested in real estate. So for me, and then the other part is I've never contributed to RSPs. So I have tons of RSP contribution room. And, we're in a higher tax bracket. So there's an immediate significant savings in taxes there. So you get a really good return. So I do spousal RSP contributions.
You get an immediate return, but when that money needs to come out, you are going to be taxed on it. And if I know you well enough, you're not going to stop earning income for your entire life.
That's why I do spousal RSP contributions, so that my wife gets the money so she can withdraw from it later on in life when she's going to be at a lower income tax bracket.
Have you taken in? So neither of you have contributed to your RRSPs. So you have that contribution room now.
No, we have been for several years now, but for my whole life prior,
you are the primary income earner.
Yes,
I know you pay her a small salary or whatever, but your contribution room is going to run out on your spousals.
Well, it will eventually run out, but I'm also,
because the percentage is just based. Are you paying her a salary?
Yeah.
So the percentage of contribution room you get
is my contribution room, not hers. So I have a lot of contribution room available. So I'll max that out. The point is you max it out to get those savings. And every year, your permitted contribution room increases by a small amount.
So what are you doing with the money? So the money that you would pay your mortgage, $2,000, $24,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing with it?
Well, now we put $4,000 a month away.
So I'm not talking about the extra two, just the two.
Okay.
Just the $2,000 that you were paying your mortgage.
Into investments.
What kind of investments?
They're in my RSPs and my wife's RSPs. And
so if you needed to take out this money now, you would be taxed on it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But we're not going to. That's the point.
Okay.
And they're invested into various things, ETFs and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. So why wouldn't you then just buy, and I know you just said heavily invested in real estate, blah, blah, blah. Mm. Why wouldn't you buy a rental property somewhere in Ontario and just keep that as long as you would have your RRSP?
And I'm not saying I won't. I'm saying we're trying to take advantage of my RSP contribution room currently. Because that's a 50% return on investment. Pretty close.
Right.
You don't get those types of returns in most places. Once that's utilized, then I would look at repurposing it elsewhere, perhaps.
I'd love to know what everybody thinks if they would pay off their mortgage, if they had the ability to do so, if it was only $200,000. Most of us don't have a $200,000 mortgage and can just say, yeah, we got lucky. We made some money over the years that we put aside.
And a lot of that was because we did buy real estate.
Yeah, buying and selling real estate.
Don't have any additional currently, but that's a choice that we made. Yeah, but that's a choice that we made. And we think it's a smart decision in terms of where we've got invested. And we're obviously very invested in other ways in the real estate industry.
See, I think if you have a house, you borrow on that house because it's likely the lowest rates. Even with the current rates, it's the lowest possible option for borrowing. And you maximize what's available to you to buy other. That's how people end up owning so many properties, is they keep refinancing and refinancing. And, so I don't know. I think even with rates, and I'm assuming if the rate was what it was 2 years ago, you wouldn't have done that.
No, there's a point where it doesn't make sense.
Did you do that math?
I did, yeah.
And what was that point?
I don't remember now, but I think it was around 5% or something.
Probably.
Like that.
Somewhere, I was going to guess 4 to 5%.
Somewhere in that range.
So the current rates.
I was refinancing at the time. So I was refinancing. That's why I did this. So I had to decide, what am I doing? And I was going to refinance like 6.2 or something like that. Right. They have come down a little bit since then.
They have. And they are going to continue to come down.
Yeah. So, and at that point, I may get a new mortgage at whatever the going rate is. And that's the benefit. That's when your home does become more of an asset, because while you have a mortgage on your primary residence, there's zero tax benefits. But I now have the means to refinance at a low rate and use that money to invest into something and write off 100% of the interest on my private residence mortgage against my income.
If you're using it for a income property.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I was going to say something while you were talking and I lost my train of thought. Anyways, I think we will see a lot of people maximizing their mortgages. We already do, right? Like the loan to value ratios, I think are going to stay pretty high as the rates come down. I understand why now a little bit more, why now you did it, because we didn't talk about it.
No. There are some, like I know several people, there's a couple of people I'm helping now, and they have a very low mortgage as well. They bought around the same time. So theirs is less than 6 figures. So they're being mindful about how much they spend on their next house. So there are a lot of people. I think the big thing for first-time home buyers, I think, is really need to be, don't overdo it, right? Like start with something small and then use the equity you build in that to move up later.
I think that can be applied to any buyer because...
Well, yeah, with anything, I suppose, anything you're buying.
How many people you know...
Items.
I don't think that will exist. I think I mentioned this on a podcast before. I don't think it'll exist where you buy a house and that's your forever home. That's what your grandparents did. That's not what people are doing nowadays. What you're doing nowadays is you're buying a home that you can afford. And yeah, people shouldn't overdo it because you see what's happening in the market now. People that overdid it, the rates went up, taxes went up, cost of living went up, and they can't fucking afford their house.
Right.
And they got to sell it.
Oh, I'm showing one today that's for
And
sale
now-
by the Bank of Nova Scotia.
Yeah, there you go. And now they got to rent. And now they lost some equity because the prices went down. And it's more difficult to get in the market after that happens than it is as a first-time home buyer.
Yeah, it is.
See, but what I would have done with that $2,000, instead of putting it into, well, you didn't disclose what kind of investments. You said RRSPs, but
I said ETF.
ETF. What kind of ETF?
I'm not disclosing my top secrets.
Oh, okay. Don't share what you're losing money on.
It's VGRO, VGRO. It's a Vanguard ETF.
So when did you put the money in there?
Well, I've been contributing
When did you
for
start?
several years.
Oh, so you're just topping up what you were already contributing to.
Yeah.
So when you started several years ago, like what's your 24-month return on investment in that
I don't
ETF?
remember 24 months. I think last year was like 8 or 9%.
That's not
It was
bad.
8 point something plus dividends.
Yeah.
I think it's good. Good
That's
returns.
not bad.
Yeah.
So you think if the rates go down, you're going to... By the way...
Absolutely, I will at some point.
If you don't have... So you think it's easy. Oh, it's easy to get a mortgage if I don't have a mortgage. It's not. You have to now get a lawyer.
This is not hard.
It costs money.
Okay.
It's got to be re-registered. The mortgage has got to be re-registered. So you have to go through all the channels, just like it's like buying a new house.
Right. Well, that's where if you see an opportunity and it makes sense to do it, I wouldn't just do it and have the money sit there.
Unless there was an investment opportunity.
Well, that's where the home equity line of credit comes in handy. So I have the money available or some money.
Mm-hmm.
And if I want to use that, and then I can refinance.
What rate is your line of equity at?
It's like...
It's got to be like prime plus half, prime plus one.
It's prime plus not much. It was good.
Prime plus not much.
It's like prime plus a quarter or a half.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because
That's
I
pretty
got
good.
it a long time ago.
Yeah. So is there enough money there to put a deposit on a house if you wanted to?
Yeah.
Well, at least that gives you the flexibility.
Yeah. Yeah. Money is available. Options are open.
See, you and I, when it comes to the financial side of things, think a little bit differently. I don't.
We think a little bit differently regarding everything.
That's true. which is what makes us great partners because
Right.
we work well together that way.
Yes.
We got all angles covered.
Yeah.
I like to maximize the shit out of everything except for my credit cards. I have a zero balance on credit cards. But as much mortgage as somebody would lend me, I am one of those type of people that will take advantage of every cent. So if I get approved for a $500,000 mortgage, I am buying something for that $500,000 mortgage. I'm not cutting it back to $400,000. If you're going to let me borrow the money.
Well, I know this about you because when you got fired from a previous job many years ago,
which, by the way, I got hired back 9
Yes.
months later with a $70,000 raise.
Right. You went out and bought or leased a BMW the next day or something like that.
No.
Wasn't it shortly after?
No, it's after I quit. After I was rehired and got my real estate license,
Yeah.
I quit.
Oh,
and
that's when
after
you
I
got it.
quit, I went out and leased a BMW a few months later.
Right.
With no income.
Right. I remember that.
And the reason I did that was because I've always.
Well, you didn't have a car, did you?
I didn't have a car.
Right.
Or did I? No, I had a car. I had
You
my
had the
Volkswagen
Touareg.
Touareg.
Yeah.
But that was a V8. It was a piece of crap, electronic issues, gas guzzler. And at that point, it was already, I don't know how many years old, 7 years old. And I went out and leased a brand new 328. That's the bottom of the line for a BMW, but it was still a $735 lease payment.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have any income, didn't have a job.
See, that would I wouldn't be able to sleep at night.
And to me, and I was putting myself in quite a bit of debt then because we had just moved into the homes we were just talking about.
Oh, that was after we'd moved already.
Yeah,
Oh,
I got
okay.
it in 2012.
Yeah.
And I will say I ended up having that car for 8 years.
Yeah.
So I
you had
leased
a
it at the end of the lease. I bought it out and I had it for 4 more years. And that's when we bought the cottage and had the kids and I needed something bigger. And then I could afford something nicer. And I essentially just got the bigger version of that car. So anyways, when I was fired is when I bought the condo in West Palm Beach.
Oh, right.
So again, I had no income.
You should have held on to that one too.
Yes and no.
Not so much.
Yes and no. We bought it.
Took a while to come back, I think.
Yeah. It came back now. So when did I sell it? Oh, man, time flies. Sold it in 2017?
Did you?
Sold in
I thought it was
2017?
before that.
So 5-6 years ago. What are you doing?
I'm just taking a picture of Robbie. We stole his desks today because we're moving to our new office and there's only
no furniture
there's only
here.
2 desks left, so he donated them to us.
So I bought that condo when the market went to shit in the States. You know, when the Big Short.
Yes. That's a great movie, by the way.
It is a great movie. I bought it from the government because the bank that foreclosed on it from the owner, the bank bankrupted.
Oh,
The bank went
Lots
into
of that
foreclosure.
happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the government
So you
owned
got
it.
it for pennies on the dollar.
So the people that owned it bought it 2 years prior for $289,000. It was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo, about 1,000 square feet on the second floor of a 2-floor building, view right next to the pool and community room and everything, with a view of the pond from your lanai.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a really nice little condo. So the owners foreclosed They paid $289,900. We bought it from the government for $72,000.
It's really good.
And that was in 2008. Sold it 7-8 years later for $105,000.
What would it go for today?
Earlier this, I guess at the end of 2023, it started creeping up, and Florida real estate has been hot in the last 6 to 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, probably 200.
Wow.
Probably about 200. But the reason we got rid of it, or the reason I decided,
and that's US, so that's like 260.
Yeah. Well, I bought it with US dollars, and at that time, the Canadian dollar was even worse than it is now.
Was it really?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
You got maintenance fees, you got all this stuff in the condo, but then flights started getting more expensive or harder to get. Obviously, we had the kids and bought the cottage, and what are the odds we're going to go down there? But the issue's always, it's like buying any property out of country. If you're not there, and even though it's in a country where we speak the language and things are very similar between Canada and the US, I found the banking system, the condo management companies, not as efficient, not as on the ball as here. And I always had issues. And I remember once, actually it was the first time that Natalie visited with me. It was a last minute thing. I hopped on and I saw flights were super cheap, direct to Fort Lauderdale. I can't remember if it was a direct or a lot of them you had to stop. But anyways, flying to Fort Lauderdale versus West Palm Beach, which it's a bit of a drive, 35, 40 minutes, not a big deal. And it was like $200 return per person. So I said, why don't we go away, go to the condo? You've never been there for a few days. So we went. And that was, I think it was for my birthday. It was for my birthday. So it was beginning of September.
Mm-hmm.
We show up to the condo. I open the door and the smell of humidity, like mildewy humidity, just smacked me in the face. And I'm like, what the fuck? Because I always kept the air conditioning on just enough. Well, the air conditioner broke.
Oh, geez.
And it was sweltering. So now I had to call emergency, even though we slept that night with no AC and opened the windows.
You didn't have a smart thermostat back then.
No. Well, we didn't have Wi-Fi. I didn't keep internet there because you're there so infrequently. It didn't make sense to do that. So I always used to just get a different chip for my phone, or at that time I had a Florida phone that I would just recharge for $20, $25 if I knew I was taking a trip. Anyways, so you have all those expenses. You're not there. Now you got to finding contractors in Florida. You think it's bad here or in Muskoka area? It's 10 times worse there. But we know a lot of people buying property in Florida now.
Well, we talked about that this morning, not even in Florida, just like we're losing another client. We'll be helping them sell soon. They're moving out of the province. So lots of that happening out of the province, out of the country.
A lot of people moving to Alberta, a lot of people moving to Nova Scotia.
BC, all over
BC,
really.
yeah.
Anywhere but here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the States.
That's a good podcast topic. Why is everybody leaving Ontario?
Yeah. Well, we should ask these people and
we'll zoom them in.
Anonymously, we can read their answers. See what they say.
It'll be like the videos or the news.
It's just a shadow on the screen and it's like, distorted voices.
Yeah. We moved to Nova Scotia because... Yeah, one of those. Anyway, congrats on paying off your mortgage.
Thank you. I'm sure I'll have another one at some point.
I will make a bet. I think there will be a mortgage back on your property by the end of this year.
This year. Ooh.
This
okay.
year.
All right.
Because mortgage rates by the end of this year, I'm going to call it out. I'll say that it'll drop 0.75%.
Ooh, that's lofty.
Is it?
I think so.
I think it'll drop by the end of this year to 0.75%.
I'll say 0.5.
0.5%.
Yeah. And even 0.25 would.
And there will
me.
be a opportunity that you will need that money.
There are opportunities now.
What kind of opportunities are you speaking of?
Well, from our experience, we've seen the market shifting. And if people want to get into the market, they should get in.
So why aren't you getting in?
It's a good question.
I
think part of it too with me is
You're very conservative. I had to convince you when we bought.
That's
Brassard.
not true. I introduced the house to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't have to convince me. You maybe reinforce the decision.
Oh, sure.
But, I am a bit conservative. For me, I look at I don't know what it is. I look at, I want to make sure something happened to me, that my family's good. So
yeah, your family would be great if you had 7 more properties.
Yeah, well, maybe.
If you're dead, they're not going to go and buy properties.
Anyways, there's so many different ways you could look at it and so many different opinions. So I'm curious what
if
the audience has to
you would
say.
buy homes for your 2 daughters. So by the time they're ready to move in, those homes would be paid off.
Yeah.
And then they don't have a mortgage.
There's other places to put
I just
your money
blew his
too.
mind, Robbie.
No. Of course, I've thought of all these things. I think there's a lot of great places to put your money. And, again, we're very heavily invested in real estate. So I just wanted to balance my investments a little bit before I invest more into real estate. Okay. So I'm utilizing other opportunities while they're available to me, i.e. RSPs. And then I will reconsider what I'm doing. Or maybe sooner, maybe by the end of this year.
So early 2025, Adrian will update us on the status of his ETFs and how they've performed, and if he actually ended up putting another mortgage on his property.
Yes, I will.
There you go.
Good chat.
Bye.
Ciao. There you have it. There's our opinions. I agree with it. Ariel, maybe he's on the fence now. I don't know. But we're curious about your thoughts and which direction you would have gone.